Hi, everybody. This is Tommy Lasorda. Listen to The Sandlot, the best thing that could happen to you.
The one constant through all the years, Ray, has been baseball.
Are you crying?
It's a part of our past, Ray.
There's no crying.
It reminds us of all that once was good.
There's no crying in baseball.
Just a bit outside.
Baseball will be very, very good to me.
It's a simple game. You throw the ball, you hit the ball, you catch the ball.
Personally, I think we got holes on that.
The Sandlot Radio Network is on the air. And now, starting pitcher for the Sandlot, former pro player and Major League scout, Ted Howard.
This is National League All-Star Justin Upton.
Hi, this is Shane Victorino.
Hi, this is Albert Pujols.
Hi, this is David Wright.
It's Derek Jeter of the New York Yankees, and you're listening to The Sandlot.
Welcome to The Sandlot. It's where everybody plays. It's a place of our own. It's our field. It's our neighborhood. It's our team. It's our home. The Sandlot is presented by the Kinetic Arm, protecting young athletes one arm at a time. The Sandlot is also sponsored by Slide MVP, Tool Shed, Champ Trove, Max Graphics LA, South Bay Credit Union, Fairway Underwriters, and Pro Slide. The Sandlot can be heard live right here on Fox Sports 1590 KVTA and also streamed live on KTVA.com. Replays of all Sandlot Radio shows are published on the major podcast platforms, including SiriusXM MLB Network Radio, Spotify, SoundCloud, Simplecast, Apple Music, Pandora, and YouTube. Also check out Sandlot Radio Show on Instagram and Sandlot Radio Network on Facebook for video content with the major league players. Please explore SandlotRadioNetwork.com for historical reels and images, along with links to our outstanding partners. Last week on The Sandlot, we had Jason Colleran, the founder of our presenting partner, the Kinetic Arm, plus baseball media guru Ryan Spilborghs was our special guest host for Who's Hot and Who's Not. And we had former Major League pitcher, he was the 5th Australian to ever make it to the Major Leagues. Now with 5-star baseball and the Gulf Shores Collegiate League, we had Damian Moss. This week's Sandlot, we have two very special guests. One man who many of you admire. You know him from Dirty Jobs, but also from Discovery Channel and the History Channel. You've heard his voice on shows like Deadliest Catch, Shark Week, and Somebody's Gotta Do It. You may listen to his podcast, The Way I Heard It with Mike Rowe. We have one of America's favorite voices. We have Mike Rowe. Our second guest of this week's Sandlot is another very important and special guest. We have the son of CharlieHustle, the Hit King. We grinded it out together in spring training way back in '89, and I competed against him as well. We have the son of Pete Rose. We have Pete Rose Jr. We're going to start you out with the world-famous Mike Rowe. You know him from Dirty Jobs, not to mention so many other things from the Discovery Channel and the History Channel. Mike, thanks so much for being a guest on The Sandlot.
Dad, I don't know how I could say no, man. I do a fair amount of these, and you are the most persistent son of a gun I have ever met. I first saw your name on my phone 13 months ago. We got a mutual friend, and he connected us. And you know what? Things have been busy, but you every month like clockwork. And I checked out your show, and I think it's terrific. And I'm sorry it took so long, but here I am. I'll try and be interesting for as long as you'll have me.
Well, Mike, we both grew up in an era where Sandlot was a real thing. And I had a neighborhood where I always tell people there was 9 venues. Each one of them had different ground rules that we made up, different equipment we used, because tennis ball worked here, wiffle ball worked here, hard ball worked here. We have to bat left-handed here because we'll break the windows if we bat right-handed. We're all dead pole hitters. So we had to make these adjustments, and our parents didn't know anything about it. Was it like that in Baltimore where you grew up?
Well, yes and no. I mean, it was both urban and primitive and rural all at the same time for me. I grew up on a little farm on the top of a hill, surrounded by nothing but forest. And the only neighbor we had were my grandparents. So my brothers and I grew up at the end of a long, winding dirt road over a covered bridge in the middle of what felt like absolute nowhere. As a kid, I had no idea that the Baltimore City line was just on the other side of that woods, maybe 3 miles away. I thought I was Huck Finn growing up somewhere in Colorado. And my earliest memories of impersonating something that looked like baseball was with me and my brothers and a couple of kids on the other side of the of the woods who would come over and just try to amuse ourselves. And we literally played a version of baseball with sticks that we got out of the woods that looked like bats and pine cones for balls. And that's my earliest memory of connecting so solidly with the pine cone that it would shatter in midair, and my brothers would scramble to catch the little pieces of it. That led to Little League, which was on the other side of our village, and that was pretty organized, actual baseball. Like, where do you draw the line between Sandlot and Little League? What's the difference?
Well, for me, Sandlot is completely unsupervised. It's just the kids figuring it out. Whereas when you go play, and I did too, I played in 20 games a year with it wasn't Little League because we weren't affiliated with Little League. It was just called Junior League, right?
Yeah.
And we were just playing 20 games a year, but we probably played 250 Sandlot games a year. And they were the unorganized ones that had all these variations and rules and dimensions, and you were limited by what you had.
Yeah, that I get. Look, this is the same group of knuckleheads who, if it wasn't some version of baseball back in the pasture, we would go and get welding masks from, somebody had somebody in their family who was a tradesman, and we would get these welding masks or eye goggles, and then we would take our pellet guns and our BB guns and basically just have at it. I mean, very elaborate battle reenactments, and we just shot the hell out of each other. I mean, I can still remember pulling a pellet out of my neighbor's knee. And I mean, that was a level of unsupervised mayhem that actually worked as a kind of crucible, a forge for sometimes maybe it was thinning the herd. Other times, maybe it was building character, but mostly, I grew up in such a weird, isolated place that it was a chance. It was part Lord of the Flies and part do your chores, but mostly the challenge to us kids was just find a way to amuse yourself. And if that meant building tree forts 60 feet in the air, or shooting each other with pellet guns, or figuring out a version of baseball, I remember playing once in November. We were literally using frozen horse turds as balls, seeing how far we could hit a frozen piece of crap with a piece of wood, and then just shagging it out in the pasture. I mean, if that counts for Sandlot, that's more like crap lot. But, looking back, it really did kind of set the stage for my career.
Well, when you think about it, that's the definition of Sandlot. Let's just figure out what we can do with what we have, unsupervised, and have as much fun as we can. But what I realized later when I became a scout, Mike, was that I was developing skills playing these crazy little games that we invented.
Sure.
And there's 5 skills that scouts evaluate: running, throwing, fielding, hitting, power hitting. Each one of the games that we played were developing one of those 5 skills. Plus the 6 skills makeup, Mike, and you'll understand that, what's in your head and your heart. And that was developing that skill too, being able to make adjustments on the fly, do whatever it took to keep the game going.
Yeah, I've also always been interested by the impact of rules and the addition of rules. Like Sandlot is fun because you can make your own rules. For a while, the thing that attracted me to it is that there were no rules, really. But the truth is, in life and in baseball, the blank page is a terrifying thing. Like the complete absence of rules is just pandemonium and mayhem. Once you get too many, well, now you're going to be up all night arguing over the designated hitter and AI in baseball. And my whole career, such as it is, has been spent trying to figure out what the rules are and aren't in my industry. In nonfiction television. Like, what do you do in reality television? Well, early on, you figure, I guess this is a kind of TV that is real. It lives up to its name. But then there are a bunch of rules. And then you realize, oh, you know what? It's not what I thought it was. And nonfiction, you would just assume, well, that would be the absence of fiction. But of course, that's not true either. So, baseball for me has always been a great metaphor for how to play within the rules, how to bend the rules, how to break them from time to time, but mostly how just to stay in on the joke and hopefully remain amused throughout your entire stay in America's pastime.
Well, and think about the generations of American families that get held together by the sport. And that's one thing I try to point out to people. My great-grandfather taught me how to read a box score. From that point on, I read them every day. And he then passed it on to his son. And it just snowballs and keeps families together. And I don't know anything throughout the history of America that's been so good at doing that.
No, I don't either. And look, our mutual friend, Dan, I know you played ball with him. What was it, the Carolina system?
Carolina League. Yeah, we were in the minor leagues in the Carolina League in 1989.
So, when I met Dan, one of our first conversations was about mentors. And I was telling him about a high school teacher that I had. He was a music teacher, but he had a different approach to virtually everything. His name was Fred King, and he always took the reverse commute. This was like Mr. Holland's opus. He was he had a great, interesting personality, and he challenged kids. He actually cured my stutter, this teacher, and I told our mutual friend Dan about this guy, and then he told me about his pitching mentor. Marshall, right. And he got so enthused as he started to talk about the mechanics of pitching. And Mike Marshall doesn't make any sense at all unless you first understand the way everybody else throws a baseball. So you have to understand the rules, you have to understand the protocol, you have to understand the standard. And then a guy like Marshall can come along and start to bend some of those rules and start to show you a different way. And, I'm sure the same is true with some of the great hitters. I grew up in Baltimore, so it was Mike Cuellar, it was Jim Palmer. It was just watching those guys throw the same, but slightly different. And now it's back to music, because really great athletes are like great musicians. They play a theme, but they'll give you a variation on the theme. So it's familiar but different at the same time. And you can see how they mastered a technique and then set it aside. So people don't see your technique so much, right? So it's like whether you're a great hitter, a great pitcher, a great singer, as a spectator, it's really not fun watching people labor through their process. What's fun is watching an artist be great at a technique they mastered.
And you're one of those guys, and you just mentioned that you had a stutter when you were a kid. You had a teacher that figured out a way for you to figure out how to master speech, obviously, because with the lineup that you've done over the years, using your voice, you went from someone that had a voice problem to someone that uses his voice every day in a manner that it resonates with people.
Well, look, I can't take any credit for it. I'm playing the cards I got the best I can. I will tell you that as a kid, all the way up to maybe 15 or 16, I was painfully shy. I didn't aspire to any of the things I do in the career that I've been so lucky to have. I wanted to go a totally different way. And I wanted to be like the guy that lived next to me, my granddad. He was a tradesman, only went to the 7th grade, but a master electrician, steam fitter, pipe fitter, welder, fabricator. He could take your watch apart, put it back together blindfolded. Built the house I was born in without a blueprint. He was that guy. And I was so sure, Tad, that I was going to follow in his footsteps and do all the things he did. And of course, that's one of the great lessons in life. Just because you love something doesn't mean you can't suck at it. And I'm sure you saw it all the time as a scout. How many kids have dreams of standing on the pitcher's mound? And that's great. But our abilities and our natural talents have very little to do with our hopes and dreams. And on the flip side, just because you don't really love something or aspire to do a thing doesn't mean you might not have some weird facility for it. So it was my pop who told me to get a different toolbox after I screwed up a concrete pour on a really important foundation while I was his apprentice. And it was my teacher, Fred King, who finally got me out of my shell when he forced me to audition for a play. And I told him, look, I'm going to stammer through the whole monologue. I don't want to do this. He had already shown me that you can't stutter when you sing, but I wasn't convinced that I'd ever lose this stammer. And sure enough, I remember getting about 20 seconds into the monologue, and I was just full on Porky Pig, just making a mess of it. And he stopped me and he said, Mike, look, what you're doing with the character is great, but this character doesn't stutter. Do me a favor. Just do it again without the stammering stuff. And I swear to God, Tad, looking back, man, that was so glib and so inappropriate and so like nothing a teacher could ever do today. But I trusted him so completely in 1977 that I just took his direction at face value.
Thanks to the beloved Mike Rowe, we are on Fox Sports Radio 1590 KVTA. We are Fox Sports. Don't go away. When we return, we have more with Mike Rowe. I'm your host, Tad Powers. The Sandlot, it's where everybody plays. The Sandlot is presented by the Kinetic Arm, trusted to protect young athletes one arm at a time. For more information, go to the SandlotRadioNetwork.com website and click on our title partner, Kinetic Arm, and start protecting your kid today.
Hi, I'm Justin Robleski, and I listen to The Sandlot.
Imagine this. Your kid throws out their arm. One bad pitch and suddenly it's surgery, months of pain, and watching from the sidelines. There's an epidemic of arm injuries in youth athletes, but it doesn't have to be that way. The Kinetic Arm is the first dynamic arm stabilizer, supporting the shoulder and elbow when they need it most. Trusted by thousands of athletes. Go to SandlotRadioNetwork.com, click Partners, Kinetic Arm, and protect your kid's arm today.
Champ Trove, where every championship becomes a treasure worth keeping. As a leading one-stop provider of custom championship rings, awards, and team packages, Champ Trove helps sports teams, clubs, and schools turn victories into lasting, high-quality memorabilia. We craft fully bespoke rings and team packages tailored to your vision, finished in just 15 days and shipped free. No rigid templates, no hidden fees, just a dedicated designer guiding you from concept to creation. Just go to champtrove.com. For every champion, forever. Champ Trove.
That sound. It happens every season. The base runner hesitates, a bad slide, a twisted ankle. The truth is, most kids are never actually taught how to slide safely. Slide MVP changes that. It's the portable sliding mat designed to teach proper feet-first technique so players build confidence before game day. No guesswork, no fear, just confidence when it counts. Train at home, train at practice, train the right way. Visit the SandlotRadioNetwork.com partners page for SlideMVP.com. Slide MVP, because one bad slide shouldn't change everything. You know, I don't say this lightly. I've been around the game a long time. There's an epidemic of arm injuries in youth athletes. Until now, nothing truly supported how the arm worked while throwing. Meet the Kinetic Arm, the first dynamic stabilizer supporting both shoulder and elbow in motion. Trusted by over 100,000 athletes. Want to protect your player? Click on SandlotRadioNetwork.com partners and order your Kinetic Arm today.
Hi, everybody. This is Rick Mundy, former Major League player, former All-Star, and now broadcaster with the Los Angeles Dodgers. You're tuned in exactly where you need to be. It's Sandlot, and it's baseball.
Talking baseball, the man and Bobby Fella, the Scooter, the Barber, and the Duke. They knew them all from Boston to Dubuque.
Especially Shohei, Mookie, and the Judge.
Welcome back to the Sandlot. It's where everybody plays. We're on Fox Sports 1590 KVTA. Also streamed live on KVTA.com. The Sandlot is presented by our trusted protector of young athletes, the Kinetic Arm. Right now we have, from Dirty Jobs, Somebody's Gotta Do It, and the podcast, The Way I Heard It with Mike Rowe, we have Mike Rowe. That's the definition of a mentor, because even though there was some doubt, you just followed his lead. And, you know, I got to say, Dan's one of those guys for me, because he knows so much about things I don't know about. I lean on him for a lot of information that, you know, because I'm a quick study. But he's in a world that I'm not in, right? So we have those mentors throughout our life, and we have to identify them and realize the value of them.
Well, you have to be curious enough to go in with the working assumption that maybe, just maybe, everything you think you know is wrong. And that's hard to do. You have to be curious and you have to be humble. And Dan, you know, look, a lot of guys listened to what Mike Marshall was screaming and just said, oh, bull crap. You're out of your mind. Plus, he was a jagged little pill in real life, right? Yes, Marshall didn't work real hard to be universally loved. He was, what does Malcolm Gladwell call it? He was not unpleasant, but just not in need of affirmation. Disagreeable. That's what it is. You have to have a disagreeable quality, I think, to be great. But in order to get there, you have to be genuinely curious and willing to accept that there might be a better way. And it's a weird mix of things, you know? I mean, and if I think about my own career that way, and if I start to look for every time something good happened to me over the last 50 years, it was almost always as a result of me realizing that I had been doing it wrong. I hosted a lot of shows, hundreds of shows. I worked for 20 years before Dirty Jobs in the entertainment business. And I wasn't confused by my failure. I was beguiled by my moderate success. I had just enough success to keep me at the slot machine, right? Pulling the handle, because I won enough to justify the effort. But as it turns out, you know, the big lesson from Dirty Jobs is I was actually a better guest than I was a host. And when I let go of all that, and, you know, like the exercise was, wait a minute, what if the sewer inspector actually is a better host of this segment than me, a guy who's never been in a sewer before? And if you just kind of ask yourself that question and then take your cue from what happens next, if you're me anyway, what you realize is after 20 years of hosting shows, you're a better guest. And if you're humble enough to let somebody else, somebody anonymous who's doing a job that you've never even tried, if you make them the star of the segment, well, hell, now you have a hit show. And now you're coming back again and again and again. And there are lessons in there, man. There are baseball lessons in there. There are scouting lessons. There are Mike Marshall lessons. It's a rich pageant, this whole life thing we're doing.
Mike Rowe, you know him from Discovery and History Channel, so many different things. The most, worst case scenario, American Choppers, Dirty Jobs especially. And we've talked about some dirty jobs off air. I had a couple as a kid. Detasseling corn.
Tell me.
Weeding beans, baling hay. Those were all kids.
Oh, yeah.
Jobs that we did as kids that I would never let my kids do, Mike, because I just think they were too hard for that age. But man, did it build some toughness in us.
Let me tell you why, in my opinion, those jobs matter, and why some jobs, people love to say today, oh, all jobs are dignified, right? There's dignity in every job. And I actually don't agree with that. I think there are some undignified jobs, but none of them are the jobs you mentioned, and none of them are any of the jobs on Dirty Jobs. The thing that makes a job dignified, in my view, is whether or not the effort that you're putting into it will benefit someone else. Is your labor a blessing to somebody else, or is it only a little monument to yourself?
Mike, I believe everybody should do some physical labor at some time, because for me, it's therapeutic. When I travel, I go to parts of the country where friends have yards that need to be mowed. I mow the yard because I enjoy it, and you can see the result of that fresh cut grass, and then you whippersnip the edges, and then next thing you know, this yard that was looking a little shabby now looks beautiful, and you can smell it, you can feel it.
Imagine Major League Baseball without the groundskeepers.
Oh my God.
I mean, what would it even look like? You know, what would it, like the whole experience of being in a major league park is to let a lot of different handiwork wash over you. There's so many things that go into making that experience part of what I think makes it the great American pastime. It's not just great pitchers and hitters. It's not just great plays. It's not just the play-by-play. We could talk about Vince Scully. We could talk about Chuck Thompson. We could talk, down the list it goes. It's so many different things touch that pursuit. It's really quite beautiful.
It really is. And I'm glad that you pointed that out. And two dirty jobs I want to mention, that one that you did cover on Dirty Jobs, it was the Mississippi mud. All the balls get rubbed up by this special mud. And I've always rubbed up baseballs just like with the sweat and dirt on my hands, right? Because unless you're in the big leagues, you're not getting a ball that's going to get rubbed up by an ump with Mississippi mud. But that is by far the best way to do it. That's one thing you did.
Yeah.
I always thought that.
I'm just trying to remember the guy's name. I think it was Lena Washburn. Washburn's rubbing mud. And this particular batch didn't come out of Mississippi. It came out of a proprietary swamp somewhere either in New Jersey or outside of Philly. I remember because we went to a Phillies game at the end of the day with the mud that I had gathered, and I sat there with the ump rubbing up the balls, and it's like, who the hell knew? I mean, obviously anybody in the game knows, but the 99.9% of the people who watch baseball have no idea. And if I remember right, didn't this happen because back in the old days, a fastball got away from like Walter Johnson or one of the greats and killed a batter? And they were just too slippery.
When they come out, they have a sheen on them, and they are slippery. And if they don't get rubbed up, they're going to do some movement that they probably shouldn't do for a hitter, especially back in the day when they didn't have helmets, right?
Yeah, the good old days, back when there was a consequence, back when kids were shooting each other with pellet guns and playing Sandlot with horse crap. Those were the days.
Not to mention we had fruit fights, snowball fights, rock fights, just because we wanted to work on our accuracy and throwing, and a moving target was tough to hit.
Oh, my God. You know what? I got to admit, Tad, I was worried. I was like, what am I going to talk to this guy about? I played ball for a couple of years as a kid, but I get it now, man. This is it's kind of like Field of Dreams in the sense. It's kind of like Bull Durham. By the way, I guess we should talk about that. As a movie guy, what is the greatest baseball movie of all time?
Well, for me, Bull Durham, just because I was in the minor leagues at that time in the Carolina League, so it was as close to being true as you could imagine being on TV. There's going to be one called Diamonds Down Under about Australian baseball that you're going to like even better because that's great.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I'll talk to you about that off air some other time. But last thing, there's a job in baseball that I always thought you should have brought up as one of the dirtiest jobs out there, and it's the clubhouse guy. And back in the day, in the 80s, we were in the worst possible environments, like 100-year-old stadiums, 100-year-old clubhouses. And my guy, Billy Bob, who me and Dan had as our trainer / clubhouse guy, he had to give you the rub down, and then he had to wash the laundry and polish your shoes. And he would get the $30 every 2 weeks from each player, and then I think he got something from the club, but not a lot, man. And they were there for 20 hours a day.
Well, look, I mean, you think about the floor of the dugout. Think about the floor of the clubhouse. Think about all of that. I mean, jeez. My first job was an usher at United Artists Movie Theaters, the first multiplex in a mall in the country. And until you really clean up a theater floor, until you really tend to a bathroom in a public place, you just don't really get an appreciation for the capacity of just the species. I mean, God, the mess we leave behind and the people who pick up after it. It's just, I think maybe, Dan and I had the same conversation about baseball movies, obviously, and we both said Bull Durham at the same time. And he had a good reason. It was similar to yours. He had gone through that system and he had lived it. I thought about it more in terms of, what was Dirty Jobs? It was a celebration of one layer down. It was a celebration of people who were really, really good at what they did, but never got famous as a result. And that's the minors. I mean, great players that are just a hair's breadth away from becoming household names, but never do. And so that's probably a component of baseball that I hadn't thought about before that rhymes pretty well with the whole thesis of Dirty Jobs, which really was to just shine a light on guys like Crash, right? Shine a light on people who are doing really good work.
He pitched in
That's
109
humanity.
games in 162-game season, and that'll never happen again, not even close. Now it's maybe 70 leads the league. We're talking about another 40 appearances. So this is a guy that went out there every day. So whatever he did worked for him. It might not work for everybody, but Mike Marshall got it done in a very unusual way, just like Dirty Jobs. And again, we've talked about all these crazy dirty jobs, but Mike Rowe's works. I got to give you raps on that because talking about helping people, because there's so many people in our country that need help, and you guide them in a way that can change their life. And that Mike Works nonprofit that you have is a huge part of that.
Well, I appreciate it, Tad. Thanks. It evolved very organically out of Dirty Jobs back in 2008. That show was the number one show on cable, and our country was going into a recession. And the crazy thing was, every morning I would get up and I'd see a new headline about more unemployed people, like 8, 9, 10 million, 11, like close to 13 million unemployed people at one point. But on Dirty Jobs everywhere we went. And that led to a scholarship program. And this year we'll do $10 million in these work ethic scholarships for people who want to learn a skill that's in demand that doesn't require a 4-year degree.
The sad thing is when your granddad had all those different skills that he had, he took pride in that. It was an honorable thing. And now people look at it as a dirty thing. It's a dirty job, and I'm not doing the dirty job. Well, somebody has to do these jobs, Mike. He's Mike Rowe. He's doing the best things for this country that people don't know about. Thank you so much for that, Mike. And thank you so much for being a guest on The Sandlot. It was worth the 13-month wait.
Let's do it again in another 13.
Thanks to Mike Rowe for blessing The Sandlot with his presence. What a treat it has been just to spend time with such an icon. Stick around as we have the son of the Hit King, CharlieHustle, a pro player for over 20 years himself. He also was a hit machine with over 2,000 professional hits. We have Pete Rose Jr. I'm your host, Tad Powers. We're on Fox Sports 1590, KVTA, The Sandlot. It's where everybody plays. The Sandlot is presented by the Kinetic Arm.
The king of crash, the colossus of clout, the colossus of clout, Babe Ruth, the great Bambino.
Hey everybody, this is Damian Moss with the Gulf Shores Collegiate League and 5-Star National. When I'm traveling, I'm always listening to The Sandlot, just like you should.
Imagine this. Your kid throws out their arm. One bad pitch and suddenly it's surgery, months of pain, and watching from the sidelines. There's an epidemic of arm injuries in youth athletes, but it doesn't have to be that way. The Kinetic Arm is the first dynamic arm stabilizer, supporting the shoulder and elbow when they need it most. Trusted by thousands of athletes. Go to SandlotRadioNetwork.com, click Partners, Kinetic Arm, and protect your kid's arm today.
That sound. It happens every season. The base runner hesitates, a bad slide, a twisted ankle. The truth is, most kids are never actually taught how to slide safely. Slide MVP changes that. It's the portable sliding mat designed to teach proper feet-first technique so players build confidence before game day. No guesswork, no fear, just confidence when it counts. Train at home, train at practice, train the right way. Visit the SandlotRadioNetwork.com partners page for SlideMVP.com. Slide MVP, because one bad slide shouldn't change everything.
Champ Trove, where every championship becomes a treasure worth keeping. As a leading one-stop provider of custom championship rings, awards, and team packages, Champ Trove helps sports teams, clubs, and schools turn victories into lasting, high-quality memorabilia. We craft fully bespoke rings and team packages tailored to your vision, finished in just 15 days and shipped free. No rigid templates, no hidden fees, just a dedicated designer guiding you from concept to creation. Just go to champtrove.com. For every champion, forever. Champ Trove.
You know, I don't say this lightly. I've been around the game a long time. There's an epidemic of arm injuries in youth athletes. Until now, nothing truly supported how the arm worked while throwing. Meet the Kinetic Arm, the first dynamic stabilizer supporting both shoulder and elbow in motion. Trusted by over 100,000 athletes. Want to protect your player? Click on SandlotRadioNetwork.com partners and order your Kinetic Arm today.
Hey everybody, this is Trevor Hoffman, a Hall of Famer and a San Diego Padre, and you're listening to The Sandlot.
Welcome back to The Sandlot. It's where everybody plays. We're right here on Fox Sports 1590, KVTA. Also streamed live on KVTA.com. The Sandlot is presented by the Kinetic Arm. Right now we have another very special guest. His father was the reason that several generations of baseball players played the game hard. Listen to what Pete Rose Jr. has to say about his childhood Sandlot days. It's been a long time coming, but finally I'm with Pete Rose Jr. Pete, thanks so much for being a guest on The Sandlot.
Hey, my pleasure, Teak. It's great to see you, man. It's been too long, my friend.
When I was a kid, we played a lot of Sandlot ball, and I grew up in a neighborhood in Lincoln, Illinois. I always tell people I had 9 different venues. And we played 9 different types of game using 9 different types of equipment and 9 different sets of ground rules. And it was monitored by us. No parents knew anything about it. It was just controlled by us. We made the rules. We did everything. Whatever equipment, it might be a wiffle ball. It might be a tennis ball. It might be a wiffle ball with tape on it. It might be a hard ball. But wherever we were at, it was different. And every one of these games we played developed skills that I didn't realize until I became a scout. Pete, in my front yard, we played a game that we played because of your father. And I tell people all the time that 2 to 3 generations of baseball players grew up trying to play the game like Pete Rose. To me, there's nobody else that I can think of that people, if they were going to play the game hard, they're going to play it like him. My little brother, Quinn, who's no longer with us, we played this game, hot box, and his job was to slide head first and us try to tag him out. So if we caught it, exchanged it, shuffled our feet, made a perfect throw, and the guy at the other end caught it and tagged it perfectly, we got him. But if anything was delayed or hesitated or it's two-seamer, whatever, he's safe. And it was bang, bang every time. And this dude was simulating the head first slide that your dad made his signature. And we played that game probably 1,000 times, and he never stopped doing that slide.
That's pickle, man. You're talking about playing pickle. And it's funny you say that because I remember as a young kid, I did the same thing, but we were in a hospital in an emergency room, and I slid headfirst into a chair and had to get 15 to 20 stitches over my eye. And my dad was the one that was catching the ball and putting the tag down. But that's awesome. That's a great story. And I hear stories like that all the time. But, being from where I'm from and growing up from where I grew up and being a Cincinnati and a West Sider, that's just how you played, man. It was just kind of our DNA to where if it was outside in the front yard or in the Sandlot or wherever it was, you went out and you played as hard as you could. And that was really, and I learned that from a young age just from watching Pops do it. And that's a great story because I played so many. And my pickle games were with my sister, Ken Griffey Jr., Eduardo Perez, Victor Perez, Craig Griffey, in the tunnel, my sister Fawn, just trying to find a slick surface so we can slide. And it's funny, kids today, they really don't know how to slide, but I just remember putting baby powder down in the basement and getting a little bit more slick so you can really, turn it loose. But that's an awesome story, man. I hear that all the time. That's great.
Yeah, like you said, kids don't know how to slide because they never practiced it. This was just second nature for us because we had done it so many times. And so many other things. The way we played that game, it was catch, throw, exchange, shuffle feet, make a good throw, catch, tag. It wasn't like get them in between and run them down. It was bang, bang. So it was hot. We called it hot box because it wasn't people.
Yeah.
We're not getting you in a rundown. You're going and we're going to get you or not. So that was one of the games that really developed skills. And like I said, when I became a scout, there's running, throwing, fielding, hitting, power hitting that we evaluate. Well, one of those things for fielding is exchange the ball from your glove to your hand. How quickly do you do that? Do you get it with four seams? Do you shuffle your feet, make a good throw? How quickly do you do that? Man, we did that 1,000 times. And my little brother was Pete Rose, and it changed everything for us. So I just, God rest his soul. He did so many things for so many people in my era to make them want to play the game the right way.
That's awesome, man. I mean, that's just part of our life. That's the way I grew up, man. I mean, whether it didn't matter where you played hard. And that just, if you're not dirty, you're not doing something wrong. I don't give a crap if you pick up dirt and rub it on your pants. If you're walking home from school and then somebody might look, hey, did you just get done playing? But it's awesome to hear stories like that. And it's just like, I think in today's game, it's different because a lot of kids don't play outside. A lot of kids don't play Sandlot. A lot of kids don't play hot box. A lot of kids don't play pickle, wall ball, burnout, whatever you want to do. And I think that's what's hurt the game. But, it's a different era. It's a different time. And, I think, you and me, we've learned so much just by playing with, my sister. My sister was the best player on our street. I mean,
And in addition to the neighborhood Sandlot stuff and the characters that were in it, you also had the cathedrals of these major league stadiums that you got to spend time in. And you mentioned some of the guys that later on went on to be great baseball players themselves. And it has a lot to do with exposure because the comfort level that you have when you get to a big league clubhouse is different than somebody that shows up there for the first time. And Pete, my first spring training, it's the first spring training I ever saw. My first minor league game was the first minor league game I ever saw. So I was not exposed at a level where I was going to get any advantages. And you guys, because you had big league dads, that was just second nature being around the clubhouse.
It was, but I'll tell you the thing that really kind of took me for granted or just took me for a loop is I remember the first 18 years of my life I spent in the big leagues. And then the next, godforsaken, I don't know how long, was in the minor league. So the shock was being on a minor league field. Let's say you're going to play in Salem or you're going to play in Peninsula or you're going to play where these fields are terrible. They're not manicured. There's no air conditioning in the locker room. All the stuff, that we've been through. But, I just remember growing up, I always wanted to be at my dad's side and that happened to be at the ballpark. And did I want to be a baseball player? Yeah, of course, but I just wanted to be next to Dad. And it was like that with the Griffeys, with the Perez's. And you're right, man. I mean, to travel and go with Dad and do this and do that, it's on the fly teaching. And like you said, that nothing, walked in and you're playing in front of, 20,000 people. Nothing's going to do it to you. I'll give you a quick story is, the night he broke the record, we were in Cincinnati. And so me and my dad, we always walked out together, and then we walked out and then we would play catch. So at the old riverfront, we come out, he put his bats and his helmet in the bat rack. I'd grab a ball, go down. There were two entrances, one by the plate and one by the, midway of the dugout. So I walked down the field and, this place went crazy. And you're talking packed house, Dad's getting ready to, to break the record. It's like, right. So I'm thinking, I don't think anything of it. And then I go to look up and my dad's not out there. So I'm wearing a Rose 14 jersey. So now I'm out here by myself. And the one thing with my dad, if you didn't hit him in the chest when you're playing catch, you are in some serious trouble. So everybody's going crazy. I'm starting to shake because my dad's not out here with me. I'm thinking these people are cheering for me. What's going on here? So finally Pops walks out. The place goes even louder. And he looks at me like, hey, come on. So the first one, of course, I let it loose, airmail it, sailed it 10 feet over his head. He looked at me and he must have knew what was going on. So he had another ball in his back pocket. He threw a strike at my chest as hard as he's ever threw. It was like, boom. I'm like, oh my God, this ain't. So the next one I threw about a 20-footer and choked it and threw it straight in the ground and it kind of shut off. And he basically just waved it off. So we went back in the dugout and I'm devastated, man, because that was our time, man. I mean, that's playing catch with Pops before the game, whatever. So my head's down. I'm feeling as bad as I've ever felt. And he comes down to me and I'll never forget it. He looks at me. I got my head down. He puts his arm around me. He said, hey, I just wanted you to feel like it was like to play in front of 70,000 people. Keep your head up. And walked away. And I'm like, you son of a gun. Holy gee. But you know what? He did so much of that to where you didn't understand it. But as I got older, you really understand it. But like that day was like, and then ever since then, it didn't matter how many people were in the stands. I've been there before. And it's like the teaching that he used to teach, so unorthodox. So you would kind of shake your head like, really, hitting yourself in the chest, playing pepper every day, taking ground balls, making a good throw, using just little stupid things that I kind of took for granted. But the older I got, I really was like, man, I'm so glad I had to listen to my dad. Like every kid never wants to listen to their dad, but guess what? I had to listen to my dad. Well, why is that, Pete? He had more hits than everybody else's dad, so I had to listen to him. And let me tell you something, T. I'm so glad I had to. It made so much of a difference, not only as a player, but like teaching guys and teaching my son and teaching other players, just the little things that he would throw out there because he never slumped. He never struggled. So he was not a good hitting coach, so to speak, but the little things that he would say, getting in the cage, your first 10, I hit left-handed. You got to go left side from the middle of the net down. If you hit it above the net, we're out. And I never wanted to get out. So, and it was never, how do I do that? No, you figure it out. And just little stuff like that. But that night, the night he broke the record, man, I was so nervous. I thought I was going to throw up and I thought my life was going to end, man. But what a night and what a thing he did for me, man.
Well, I got to say, everybody was watching. I was watching. And when he got that hit and you came out and he gave you a hug, if you were a baseball fan, you teared up. And I kind of, sure. I don't know how, you were what, 14 at that time?
I was 15.
So I was about 19 years old, dude. And I was crying like a baby because it meant so much to baseball. And to see him hug you that way, just, I don't know what it did to me, but I know it did it to a lot of other people too.
It was crazy because once it happened, I was the first one out there and just he tied it in Chicago and I went out and came back in and the ovation kept going. It kept going. And Dave Van Gorder, who was a backup catcher, I think he passed away, God rest his soul, but what a great guy. He's like, Petey, you got to go back out there. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, okay, Never hugged my dad, never showed any kind of emotion. We weren't that type. My dad was a really hard-nosed guy. Big, thick walls. The older he got, the more softer he got, like softer with my kids, my sister's kids. But I remember Dave Van Gorda goes, "You got to go back out there." And I didn't know what to do. I just ran out there, and he grabbed me and he said, "I love you." And he said, "Hey, don't worry, you're going to catch me." And I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, okay, 4,000 hits. I appreciate it, Pop, but that was more, the hug and the "I love you" was, and that was really the first time where we ever kind of did that embrace as a father and son. Now with my son, I mean, he probably gets mad. I kiss him all the time and tell him how much I love him. And, I'm a sappy old man, but that was the first time we really kind of showed any kind of emotion. And I didn't want to go back out because I didn't know what the heck to do. And Dave's like, "You got to get out there." So I went out there. The rest is history. And what an unbelievable night, not only for our family, but the city and the Reds. And it's something you'll never forget. It's tough to explain kind of the feeling and how it went down. But if you think about it, it happened like it was just yesterday, man.
Well, sorry for tearing up over here, but man, I've been waiting to talk about this with you for a really long time. And so it hit me pretty hard. Like I said, I've been waiting a long time to have Pete Rose Jr. We're on Fox Sports 1590 KVTA, the Ventura Sports Talk Station. I'm your host, Todd Powers. The Sandlot is where everybody plays. The Sandlot is presented by the Kinetic Arm. Go to the SandlotRadioNetwork.com partners page, click on Kinetic Arm, and start protecting your player's future today. We have more from former Major Leaguer Pete Rose Jr. when we return to the Sandlot.
Hey, it's Mike Rowe. If you know me, it's probably from a fantastic TV show called Dirty Jobs. If you don't worry about it. The important thing is I'm in the Sandlot with Tad. And if you think it's dirty in here, well, you're right.
Imagine this. Your kid throws out their arm. One bad pitch and suddenly it's surgery, months of pain, and watching from the sidelines. There's an epidemic of arm injuries in youth athletes, but it doesn't have to be that way. The Kinetic Arm is the first dynamic arm stabilizer, supporting the shoulder and elbow when they need it most. Trusted by thousands of athletes. Go to SandlotRadioNetwork.com, click Partners, Kinetic Arm, and protect your kid's arm today.
Looking to stand out? At Max Graphics LA, they bring your ideas to life. From custom screen printing and high-quality embroidery to eye-catching signs and banners, they do it all. Outfit your team, promote your business, or create one-of-a-kind personal gear. Whether it's company uniforms, sports league fan swag, or custom designs for any occasion, we've got you covered. Fast, reliable, and made just the way you want it. Call 310-350-3394 or visit maxgraphicsla.com today. Max Graphics LA, where your brand gets noticed.
Whether you're in the batter's box or grinding through a 12-hour shift, your gear matters from the inside out. Introducing Toolshed Premier Compression Underwear. Toolshed is designed for the athlete and worker who demand comfort and durability. Moisture-wicking technology, aero-cooling mesh, and a fit that stays put. No chafing, no riding up, just pure performance. Upgrade your base layer today at ToolshedUSA.com. Use code SandlotRadio10 for 10% off. Toolshed, made in America.
You know, I don't say this lightly. I've been around the game a long time. There's an epidemic of arm injuries in youth athletes. Until now, nothing truly supported how the arm worked while throwing. Meet the Kinetic Arm, the first dynamic stabilizer supporting both shoulder and elbow in motion. Trusted by over 100,000 athletes. Want to protect your player? Click on SandlotRadioNetwork.com partners and order your Kinetic Arm today.
It was pretty much decided for me to play baseball when I was born.
The Sandlot's where it all starts, doesn't it?
I wasn't bigger than everybody. I just threw harder.
It doesn't take any talent to hustle.
If you don't pull for the Dodgers, there's a good chance you may not get into heaven.
Something happening here.
Welcome back to the Sandlot, right here on Fox Sports 1590 KVTA. I'm your host, Tad Powers. The Sandlot is presented by the most trusted protector of arms in the industry, the Kinetic Arm. Right now, we have more from a current coach in the Gulf Shores Collegiate League, longtime pro player and coach. He's Pete Rose Jr., the son of Pete Rose, and he played for 21 professional seasons, over 7,000 at-bats, over 2,000 hits. That's half the amount of hits your dad got, but my God, 2,000 hits, Pete. That's insane. And sticking around for 21 years. I looked I think there was a total of 23 different teams that you played with in minor leagues, between minor leagues, major leagues, independent ball, and even Mexico. That's a lot of unis. That's a lot of teammates. And that
sure is.
Talking about culture shock, how about some of these little towns you end up playing in when you're in the minor leagues?
I remember, if you remember Lynchburg, Old City Stadium in the Carolina, I remember we opened up in Durham, and then our second trip was to Lynchburg. And I remember walking in. I'm 19, fresh out of high school in the Carolina League. I had no business being in Carolina League, but at that time we didn't have a low A ball club, the Orioles, on the sign. El Sox versus Pete Rose Jr. and the Frederick Keys. I'm like, you got to be kidding me, man. And I just remember Harvey's Hotel. You get everybody riding up and down the strip, or if you go into Salem or Kinston. Kinston was the only place was the Hilton, and you had the Hardee's was right next to and that was the only place to eat. So if the game went long, hey, SOL, buddy, you're not going to eat until tomorrow. But you're right, man. So many different places. Playing in Mexico, playing in the winter, whether it's, Mexico, Venezuela. I played in Nicaragua, which was great. I played in Venezuela, played in Dominican, played in Mexico. And you know what? You just go and play wherever it is. Wherever they give you a chance, you just go and keep grinding. You know what I mean? And it's made me the guy I am today. And, I loved every minute of it. But I can tell you, Clinton, Iowa, Burlington, Iowa, freaking Battle Creek, Michigan, some of the worst places were in the Saudi League, the old Savannah. You played in the Carolina League where Peninsula was terrible, but I remember Tiny driving a big convertible Cadillac, picking up everybody and taking even the visiting guys. I remember Brett Boone and Jimmy Campanis. You were on that team. But I remember going into the Peninsula on how hot it was, and there was hardly any air conditioning in the locker room. The field was terrible. There was like 3 people there. But you know what? You just did it, man. It was just kind of part of it. But I remember I played in the Florida State League in 91. I'm like, hey, man, at least I'm playing in big league ballparks with big league locker rooms. I'm like, hey, I made it. You know what I mean? But, what a run, though, man. Places and teammates and stuff you'll never forget, man. It was an awesome 21 years, man. As long as you played, and it's just the friends and the friendships and the people you meet. It's just, it's lifelong, man. I haven't talked to you in forever, and we were in spring training together in 89. And I knew exactly when, we got on the phone. I'm like, Teak, unbelievable. Side armor. I'm like, you remind me of Kent Colby, and you looked at me like I was some kind of animal. What Teak? What? And okay, that makes sense. But it's been a wild ride, man. It's been a long ride, but it's been a wild one, man.
When you get done playing, you want to stay in a game, and you've done it, and you've been a coach, you've been a manager, and now you're working with kids in the collegiate summer league. It's in our blood, and it's hard to, it's what we know, it's what we got to keep doing. And, I'm 60, and I'm still trying to do it as much as I can because it makes you young, and it keeps you young. And it keeps you in the middle of it. I like being in the middle.
Sure. No, I just remember guys, like older guys, when I was coming up, it's all about giving back to the game. And as much as I can give back to kids, and, I tell my son all the time, I just don't want you to make the same mistakes that I made as a player, whether it's, taking it at bat out onto the field, or, I remember Pops trying to tell me, you got to trick your brain. If you're 0 for 10 and somebody asks you how you're swinging, don't tell them you're struggling. Say you feel great and just not getting any hits. Or you just struck out 4 times, but it was the best 4 strikeouts you ever had. You can relate to pitching and all kind of stuff, the stuff that you've been through. And I think it's great, man. If you can just help other guys, and you can help them achieve what they're looking to do. And like you said, it's what we do. It's kind of, it's all I know. I couldn't do anything else. I don't know anything else. But, it's funny when people ask me about baseball. Well, baseball is just baseball. I think you understand when I say that to you. It's just baseball. It's not very hard. It's like managing, these guys today. Well, no, you manage. It's all damage control. If you're winning, all you're trying to do is not let the time run get to the plate. If you're losing, all you're trying to do is get the time run to the plate. That's it. That's baseball 101. And it's like, these guys make it so different these days. But giving back is awesome. And I get an opportunity to go to the Gulf Shores Collegiate League every summer. My son's played for me the past 3 years. Damian Moss and 5 Star do a great job. John Rocker's down there. It's out of the Braves complex. So it's kind of, it gives them a taste of what rookie ball is. You know what I mean? It's just not as strict as, let's say, we went through in spring training, but, the heat and the game times, you're on the complex and everything. But it's a great league. It's in a great spot. The Braves are great. They take care of us. And you know what? I wish I could be back in the organization, but you know what? I don't know if I can deal with all the analytics stuff and all the BS and all the, if I'm the manager, I got to talk to this guy about doing this or doing that or doing this. But if you ask me, can I manage a big league club right now? Absolutely. You give me the Reds, we'll win. You give me the Dodgers, we'll win. You give me, because all you got to do is go out there at 7:00 and turn them loose and understand they're going to struggle. Stick with your guys. And as a player, man, if you had a manager that really gave out you'd run through a wall for him. And you can see these guys nowadays, they're yes men. They're all about the paycheck, and they're all about, hey, I got to do this because if I don't, the organization is going to get mad at me. Well, if you just took a 7-hour trip to Hagerstown, you got 6 guys with bed bugs. You want us to come out here and take infield? No, we'll play at 7. We'll do it all again tomorrow, but we're not going to do it today. Well, why not? Well, because it's not going to do my guys a damn bit of good to get out there and take infield after a 7-hour trip with 6 guys with bed bugs. We just ate McDonald's. You know what I mean? So, but I love it, man. It's a game we love. Everybody says the game's changed. Yeah, it has, but it's still baseball, man. I love it just as much as you do, brother.
Thanks for listening to just the 4th Sandlot Radio Network program of the 2026 baseball season. We will continue to bring you unique childhood stories from the biggest names in baseball, including current, former, and future Major League players, coaches, scouts, front office personnel, and even media as they reflect on the road to the big leagues. You can catch replays of this year's and past season's episodes of the Sandlot Radio Show on the Sandlot Radio Show SoundCloud page. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook for video content with the MLB players. We also have links to YouTube, Spotify, SiriusXM, MLB Network, and all the other major platforms. Please explore the SandlotRadioNetwork.com website to check out our reels and images from our long history of covering everything from the Sandlot to the big leagues. If you're interested in advertising your business on the Sandlot Radio Show, give us a call at 303-350-0655 or send us a message through the website, SandlotRadioNetwork.com. I want to thank our 2 amazing guests on this week's show. We had the world-famous voice of Mike Rowe telling his Sandlot story, and we also had the son of the Hit King, the son of Charlie Hustle, longtime pro player and coach, a man with baseball in his blood, Pete Rose Jr. Be sure to tune in every Saturday at 8 a.m. on Fox Sports 1590 KVTA, also streamed live on KVTA.com. The Sandlot has been presented by the most trusted leader for athletic arm protection in the industry, the Kinetic Arm. To purchase and start protecting your athlete today, go to SandlotRadioNetwork.com, click on the Kinetic Arm, and go to our partners page. The Sandlot is also sponsored by Slide MVP, Champ Trove, Tool Shed, South Bay Credit Union, Fairway Underwriters, Max Graphics LA, and Pro Slide. The Sandlot, it's where everybody plays. It's a place of our own. It's our field. It's our neighborhood. It's our team. It's our home. I'm your host, Tad Powers.
Damn it! Who typed a question mark on the teleprompter? For the last time, anything you put on that prompter, Burgundy will read.
This is National League All-Star Justin Upton.
Hi, this is Shane Victorino.
Hi, this is Albert Pujols.
Hi, this is David Wright.
It's Derek Jeter, New York Yankees, and you're listening to The Sandlot.
Is this heaven?
It's Iowa. Is there a heaven?
Oh, yeah. It's the place dreams come true.
Hey, Dad? You want to have a catch?
I'd like that.
Imagine this. Your kid throws out their arm. One bad pitch and suddenly it's surgery, months of pain, and watching from the sidelines. There's an epidemic of arm injuries in youth athletes, but it doesn't have to be that way. The Kinetic Arm is the first dynamic arm stabilizer, supporting the shoulder and elbow when they need it most. Trusted by thousands of athletes. Go to SandlotRadioNetwork.com, click Partners, Kinetic Arm, and protect your kid's arm today.
With so many banking options out there, why choose South Bay Credit Union? As a nonprofit credit union, they're here to serve you, not shareholders. That means they're able to provide better rates, fewer fees, and more valuable benefits to empower their members to live better and do better. You want to master your money? South Bay Credit Union puts you in control of your money with everyday banking solutions. From checking accounts to home mortgages, credit cards to auto loans, their members have access to the tools they need to achieve their financial goals now and in the future.
The difference between safe and out is inches. And the difference between hesitation and going all out, confidence. But confidence disappears fast when you're worried about cuts and scrapes. Introducing Pro Slide. Padded compression sleeves for legs and arms, protecting knees, shins, and elbows so you can play all out. Stay in the game with Pro Slide. Get yours today by visiting the SandlotRadioNetwork.com website. Visit Partners, then Pro Slide. Pro Slide Sports. Play hard, stay protected.
When you run a sports facility, tournament, camp, or recreation business, you need more than insurance. You need coverage built for the game. For over 35 years, Fairway Underwriters has specialized in protecting sports and recreation organizations nationwide, from baseball and softball facilities to camps, leagues, tournaments, golf courses, fitness centers, and special events. Because when the unexpected happens, experience matters. Fairway Underwriters, the name trusted for quality and innovation since 1989. Call 1-800-662-2141 or visit fairwayunderwriters.com today. Fairway Underwriters, protection built for sports.